Unnecessary intro song to totally waste your time.
Do you think Rob Reiner would still be alive? And his wife, Michelle. We keep talking about Rob, but she got hacked up too. I don't know, she stabbed, whatever, murdered. Do you think they'd still be alive if Rob Reiner had decided that, I got enough money, I've told enough stories, I'm going to go have kids now, I'm going to raise some kids in Idaho, Montana, or even some just small town, I'm not a striking looking man, I'm not Cary Grant, I'm not Michael Jackson, if I wanted to move somewhere, sure, I'm a big fat guy with a bald head, but, they're not going to remember me from All in the Family. I'm bald now, and I'm behind the scenes, and there's going to be some Spinal Tap people that are going to remember me from that movie, but I could move out of LA and raise a family. You think he'd still be alive? I think he would be. I do. I don't think you raise a kid who kills you like that if you've got all this money and you decide to raise your kids like a normal person might, But I've just been wondering about this because it relates with my life a little bit, my stepbrothers, and no drug addiction from my end, but, stepbrothers who are homeless and addicted to drugs and blah, 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 lots of marriages, lots of divorces, and, so I'm not going to talk about a normal life because I didn't live a normal life. I don't think most people have 17 siblings, amongst 6 different marriages, and I don't know what a normal life is like, so take this with a grain of salt, but I decided to start thinking about it, like, how many people, here's the thing. If you want to stop being famous, it's not that hard. It's just not that hard. The way people think and how fickle people are, if you just decide to stop engaging with the paparazzi in Hollywood and the rags and publicity machines, you can pretty much become anonymous. Not anonymous maybe, but, live a pretty normal life if you want to, depending on the level of fame. I mean, I don't know if Paul McCartney ever had a choice to be anonymous, to become anonymous. Past a certain point, it's kind of like you can't do it. But even with that, there are still small towns. There's still places you can go where you can live kind of a secluded life, and maybe in a little town which knows you're there and they don't care anymore. They grow accustomed to you. So I got on Grok today and I started thinking, how many examples are there of people who just on purpose quit? They said, you know what? I got famous, but I want to have kids now. And I understand that Hollywood is not a good environment. Fame, movies, stardom, influence. These aren't healthy things you need to have around kids. How many Hollywood people achieved fame and then called it quits? And by the way, let's just be clear. Nick was born in 1993. Most of his dad's big hits came before that. Spinal Tap, Harry Met Sally, Few Good Men, Stand By Me. He was already worth probably hundreds of millions of dollars by the time his kid was born. He had the resources to quit if he wanted to. He didn't need to make more movies. I'm not saying that people shouldn't pursue their passions and blah, blah, blah. But if you're alive and in Hollywood and you're looking around and you don't notice that Hollywood is sick, well, you're sick for once for one thing. If you don't notice that, that's a that's a bad sign. You know, most people do. You hear about all kinds of stars that decide to move out of Hollywood and try to lead some kind of life, but then they keep their toe in it. Like, I asked Rock, how many examples could we find of people that at the top of their career quit Hollywood for a simple life or whatever? And first of all, Grok's a fucking idiot, okay? It just lies and makes up shit. So this was fun. Grok told me that the rumors of Rob Reiner being murdered are just, it's fake news. It's rumors, by the way. Yeah. And Gene Hackman, also still alive. He's not dead, according to Grok. So, anyway, the conversation I have with Grok is so fucking retarded. So take this all as with a grain of salt. I double checked with ChatGPT on some of these details. Gene Hackman is dead, you know. But the examples that I came up with were Gene Hackman, who decided to call it quits and apparently raise his kids, mostly not knowing anything about what he did. Rick Moranis up and quit when his kids were born. His wife died, apparently. I don't know, that's what Grok tells me. And he seems to be the only one who really just up and left Hollywood. His wife died of breast cancer, allegedly, apparently, I don't know. But then he decided to be a single dad and raise his kids. And he seems to be the one guy who literally dropped off the map with a few interviews explaining that he did it intentionally, that he didn't want to be part of the Hollywood mess. He doesn't like the values, blah, 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 and he up and quit. And from what it appears to be, his kids didn't really know he was famous until they were well into high school, perhaps even later, that he literally made that break. He said, no, I don't want to do it. Another example, allegedly, of Phoebe Cates and Kevin Kline, who for the same reason moved to upstate New York or upstate-ish New York, said, I want out of this. I want to be a dad. I don't want to be a Hollywood guy. And they raised their kids, and their kids seemed to love them, although I feel like they did the private school thing because one of their kids is going by Frankie Cosmos. She, they, he, they, or whatever, fucking they, them. So there's some private schooling and some upstate New York nonsense going on there. But still, the intent was, we have this huge fame. We understand that it's kind of sick. We're opting out. And maybe they just made the mistake of going for Mill Valley liberal fucking, that kind of off-grid. Not the right kind of off-grid. Aspen, Colorado. Aspen is not the off-grid you're looking for, you know. Oh, we moved out of LA. Where'd you go? Aspen. Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. But then you hear about Bruce Willis moving his camp to Idaho. Of course, he divorced Demi Moore. His kids claim, allegedly, that they also didn't know Dad was famous for a long time. He was a regular old dad. So the effort was there. You know, the effort was there. But the story that kind of struck me the most was Bill Withers, apparently. Bill Withers made a bunch of money off of some of his hits. I think, wasn't his, one of, you got to call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. That's him, right? That's where he made his big money, even though he had the other ones before. But apparently, he also just said, fuck it, I'm done. Hang it up. Never told his kids he was famous. Went back home. He didn't move out of LA. He was in Culver City. But raised his kids like a normal human being. totally apparently trying to shield them from his fame and everything else. And according to fucking Grok, the most unreliable shit in the world, they turned out like normal people. And the interviews seem to confirm that. J.D. Salinger, another guy, Catcher in the Rye, moves away, raises some kids, never writes another book, opts out. Syd Barrett, Pink Floyd, apparently, said, I got enough money. I'm done. I don't want to use myself as an example here, but I quit my careers too. The vanity career with photography, it's like it was reaching an apex. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't like the people that are surrounding me. I don't like that everybody that I'm meeting are pornographers. I don't like that. I don't like that I'm getting lumped in. I think I'm doing art nude photography, but I'm getting lumped in with the pornographers. I don't like it. I don't like the people I'm meeting. I don't like my fans. Let's put it that way. I don't even like the concept of fans. The concept of having a fan is just gross. The concept of being a fan is gross. I remember one time, Spaulding Gray. Have you ever heard of Spaulding Gray? I couldn't tell you much about him, but anyway, I got tickets to go see him speaking live at a little theater called the Tower Theater. I think it was called the Tower Theater in Utah. And I had to walk out halfway through because his fans were just driving me nuts. They were laughing too hard at his jokes that weren't funny. They were just wide-eyed and staring at him, and it was just so fucking creepy. And I was like on the third row, so it was pretty obvious when I got up and left. And he was just saying nonsense leftist shit. And I was just like, I'm out of here. I got to get out of here. And I walked out because it was mostly his fans. I could have listened to him, but the reactions of the fans. And by the way, this is why I don't like going to live shows. I promoted live shows for a long time, but I don't actually like going to live shows because fans, I get annoyed when people cheer at half-assed songs. It's like, fine, you're a hit, this good one, this really honest one, this is great. This song in the middle here, this sucks. But fans are, woo! I'm like, can you contain yourself, please? Yeah, I don't like fans. But, so I've sabotaged myself. Of course, that's easy to say, but most of the people that I know that where their fame arches and then they stop, it's not because they stopped. It's because the record company didn't want to do another album, or the phone calls stopped coming in for things. Very few just stop posting, stop. But some do. Some do. I'm a person that did that, with different kinds of art, when I was doing my illustration, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is that you can. It's amazing how quickly you can sort of go from lots of attention to not much attention. Even if you're really big and famous, I think you can do that. You certainly see it. It's harder for maybe a lead singer to do that, but you see that all the time hell, I had famous friends that were hugely popular, Grammy winning, just, and even when they were at the top of their fame, if you're hanging out with the bass player, the guitar player, or whatever, the drummer, they don't get noticed like the singer does, so they will, they're more famous than most, but it only takes a couple years, hell, a little bit of aging. If you stop shaving your head into a mohawk and wearing plaid pants, you just blend in a little bit. Very easy, just very easy. Rob Reiner, if he wanted to blend in, If he wanted to raise a normal family, he could have done it. You know? Hindsight is 2020. I don't want to shit on the guy. Well, I do. I can't stand him. I like his movies, but the hatred and the rage and the anti-white, anti-conservative, the meathead tirade for, his impact on the political, what would you call it, the political health of this country was terrible. He's a terrible person, in my opinion. Terrible, terrible person. So that's probably why he would have never made this choice. And that's kind of what I meant with if your kid kills you, you probably deserve it. And especially with Rob Reiner. It's because, man, you fill your home with Marxists and hippies and lefties who don't want any consequences for their actions, want to do drugs, that's fine. Anything that bad that happens to you is because of Republican somewhere, a conservative, I don't know. But the point is there just aren't very many examples. Rick Moranis dropping off the scene, that's a pretty good one. Bill Withers didn't move out of LA, it's okay. Bruce Willis gave it a shot, but what do you do when Demi Moore is the woman you chose to have kids with? Striptease, those embarrassing movies. I don't know. Hollywood's just kind of a sick place anyway. I think when you pursue that kind of attention, it's true what they say. People that are in Hollywood are trying to fill a void that can't be filled. I think that people that are raised in good families with good parents and good values, I don't think they run and seek the love and attention from strangers. I just don't think that's the way that works. I think even my existence here on this platform, this recording, is more evidence of that. I think I think there's a likelihood that if my mom and my dad stayed together and loved each other, I don't think I would be talking into a little rectangle box to try to connect with strangers about these kinds of topics. I don't even think these kinds of thoughts would occur to me. The trying to piece together, why the fuck did this happen? Why the fuck did that happen? I don't think you do. I think if you're raised with a good mom and a good dad who love you and care about you, and they work with their hands, and they earn an honest living, and they're just regular old good people, a baker and a mason, an electrician. I just don't think you pursue the arts. I don't think you pursue fame and attention. I don't think you look to have influence. Maybe you're a city council. You want to decide how the roads get paved, So it's already a self-selected sick group to begin with. It really is. And you kind of got to look at art and artists that way. It's an area where there's no accountability. I know I say it over and over again here, but if you want to be unaccountable, you run to the arts or academic, the humanities, another area of no accountability. You just spit out some fucking stupid idea about how you think the society should be. Put a lot of footnotes, write it well, convince your fellow academics that you're smart, and enlightened, and that conservatives are stupid. That very same electrician and, raising his kids somewhere in Idaho or Utah or Wyoming or whatever, just any interior city, living a humble life. Oh, they're stupid. They're uneducated. Fucking idiots. They're evil, as a matter of fact. That's the overcorrection. It's like, Rob, really? Come on. When people overcorrect like that, it's really, you got to just go, are you just trying to shift blame for some evil shit you're doing? Like when you totally invert it, where you make the good people, the people that are going to church and trying to be good, you have to make them to be evil. It's one thing to just go, I don't really like it. Not into church. It's kind of boring. But no, the Christians are evil. They're the reason why the world sucks. I don't know. But had Rob Reiner opted out or just decided that, you know what, I want to raise a family, not show off to my family, because here's what I think happens. I think you get a guy like Meathead, and I think he, in his mind, he's so narcissistic. This is me casting judgments, whatever, judge me. I don't care. It's fine. Strangers, I'm not much affected by what strangers think about me. But if you're Rob Reiner, it's easy to think, oh, this is going to be great. I'm gonna be the best dad because my kids are going to totally admire me, man. They're going to know their dad is famous. Anywhere they go, people are going to be bowing down and asking for my autograph. That's going to be great for my kids. My kids will see how much... are you listening to yourself, buddy? Part of raising a child is, from what I can tell, a competition with the child. You're two humans. No matter what, you're two humans. You're two individual humans, right? And when you're the parent, you're big, you're strong. You get to lay down the law. You already have this tremendous advantage over a tiny child, right? You can literally pick them up. You can put them in their room. You can lock the door. There's not a lot a tiny child can do. You can starve them for love or attention, whatever. You have full control. Being a parent is the perfect example of being able, if you want to be just a complete dictator tyrant. If you want to be. You don't have to be funny. You don't have to be anything. You own your kid. You're in charge as long as you're not beating them or whatever in front of the neighbors and not getting cold. You can kind of run your house any way you want to. Hopefully you love your kid or whatever, but the point is you already have a huge advantage right out of the gate because the kid's fucking small. Can't drive a car, can't leave, can't fend for himself. So how many more advantages do you need to stack on top of that? I think there is this equalizing force when you're a child. You're testing the boundaries because there is this competition. You got to figure out, well, what do I mean in this world? I know what my mom and my dad mean, but what's my spot in the world? And you're testing it out. You're testing the limits. How far can I push mom? How far can I push dad? And depending on how qualified and wonderful they are as human beings, are they funny? Are they admirable? But think about Rob Reiner, everything you see about Rob Reiner in the media, in his things, his attitude, in every role, in Spinal Tap, in Meathead, in interviews. Sure, he's got this big fat smile on his face, but he's a know-it-all. He's an arrogant, egomaniacal, holier-than-thou know-it-all. The way he yells at Archie in All in the Family, that's Rob. Because you've seen it. You see it on Twitter. You see it in interviews. It's that same guy, and he's yelling the same stuff. Who knows if that was a formative thing, or if he became like that, because of the role. But so that you can imagine that wouldn't turn off at home, even in his own depiction of himself as a governor in his movie, being Charlie, that he produced and had a heavy hand in, making sure that he was presented the way he wanted to be. He was a yeller and a screamer, a passionate man. They just call it passion. Okay, is it passion or is it just evil manipulation, just forceful manipulation? Haranguing people about their morals and how, Archie, you're a terrible person. I know better than you, and I'm louder, and I'm taller, and I'm hunched over, and I'm bigger than you too. Well, you can totally imagine a guy like him using that to it, thinking that that is validation, and that's one of the dangerous things about the world too. And that's one of the dangerous things about algorithms is there's this idea that if it's popular, it's because it's good or it's right. That it's a reward, as if only good things are rewarded. There's somebody in a Facebook group just last week, who was complaining about AI music or whatever. I'm like, dude, I looked at your reels. I went to his website, and he's making commercial crap, little jingles for terrible commercials on TV. Nothing solid, nothing that would move you, just stupid little jingles for background music on car commercials to sell shit. And he's coming in trying to act like he's a musician and he's whatever, like he's some special guy. I'm like, nobody gives a shit, dude. But he sends me a private message in Facebook Messenger, and he's like, I've earned more millions in my 30s than you'll earn in your whole life. I'm like, first of all, probably not true. I looked at your reel. I looked for any connections. You probably had one big gig for $100,000. Okay. And nobody knows it's you and nobody cares. It's background music. But the idea that he thinks that I made money doing this thing, and therefore what I do is good. It's better. That's the problem, is society rewards garbage too. It's not just good things that are rewarded, but for a guy like Meathead, that validation, that's all he needs. It's just like, well, I'm popular. They're rolling out the red carpet for me. Are you really going to tell me that my morals are bad? When the red carpet, everybody around me thinks I'm great. They worship me. How can you possibly say that I'm bad? God complex is very easy to come by. And you don't even need to be Rob Reiner. You can be the coolest guy in your school. I remember being backstage, what was it? Oh, I remember what it was. I interviewed this woman named Poe for a magazine in Utah, and she's like, I want you to be in my band, and blah, blah, blah. She got a crush on me, okay? But she was opening up for Lenny Kravitz that night at the Symphony Hall in Salt Lake City. She invited me along. And I went, and actually, I don't know if did she open up for him that night? I can't remember, but I think that's how I got tickets. Either that or my partner was in on the promoting. But anyway, somehow I ended up backstage at Lenny Kravitz. I think it was because of Poe. But I remember there was this rule that everybody had to sit down when Lenny Kravitz came out of his dressing room and was making his way towards the stage. I was like, I'd never had that before. I've been backstage for years. And I thought, really? Yeah, everybody has to sit down. Well, I didn't sit down. I just kind of backed up and, moved out of the way. I wasn't going to sit down. But a lot of people did. Almost everybody else just sat down as he came out of his dressing room and made his way to the stage. I was like, is this because he's short? Is it because he's short? I don't know. It was weird. But I remember during the show, and this was back when he had Are You Gonna Go My Way, that album, his biggest album. And Let Love Rule, I think, was the song that he had. But when he played it, he decided to get off stage and start walking around the audience and go up into the rafters. Symphony Hall is this big, it's a symphony hall. He's got balconies and stuff. But so his thing was the house lights would come on and he'd go and sing Let Love Rule with everybody. And I've never seen in true life, face to face, a better example of savior complex than that. Like, I really think that when he was singing that song and the crowd was singing it together, Let Love Rule, he was thinking, I'm having my John Lennon moment, I'm having my Beatles moment. He was up there and he was smelling his own farts and just loving it, just breathing deeply. He's not only smelling his own farts, he was smelling his own farts recycled through everybody else. It's like smelling everybody's farts, and everybody's farts were his own farts. And I was just watching this and I was like, he's more into it than the crowd was. First of all, the crowd liked it. They came to see him. They were fans, getting back to what I was saying. They're annoying, but this was not the Spaulding Gray kind of thing. They were doing it, and I felt a bit of an embarrassment, and it was a little bit uncomfortable for me because I felt like the balance was out. Like Lenny was digging it more than the crowd was digging it. He was smelling his own farts more. He was enjoying his own farts more than the crowd was enjoying his farts. There was a little bit of a disconnect. That even having people sit down, it's just like, okay, dude, yes, you're famous, but not that famous. You got to remember. And one of the good things about media, social media these days, is I think that finally famous people are starting to figure out that people don't care about them nearly as much as they think, with all these ads, these political ads, these just gross fucking, I will not be racist any longer. I will never, fuck you, you fucking idiots. Nobody gives a shit. And I'm glad we're finally to that point where people really don't give a shit. But I'm telling you, just from being around that, when people are that shielded, that system, that circle jerk is a real thing. And I think no matter who you are, if you get somewhat famous, a circle develops around you of yes men. Oh, yes, Rob, you're absolutely right. Everything you say is right. Here, reward, red carpet this, red carpet that. You're the best. Your farts are amazing. Please fart right in my face. Please, can you just fart right in my face, Mr. Reiner? I love your farts. Your farts are the best farts. And all the people around them are doing that because they want a piece of the action. They want some money. They want some fame for themselves. So it's very easy to be disconnected, completely disconnected from reality, And that's why when you see these people that at least make the move, the Gene Hackman going to Santa Fe, the Rick Moranis dropping off the planet, even the Kevin Kline and Phoebe Cates, the attempt, the Bruce Willis trying to do this. You hear about Dave Chappelle doing that to Ohio. I mean, that's an attempt, right? That's a glimmer that some of these people get it. And they go, I don't want this fucking shit. This is not healthy. But the people that don't, the Rob Reiners, I already have 100 million, but I need to not only not do this for my kids, but I'm going to double down to prove to my kid that if there's ever a dispute between me and him, I'm the winner because Hollywood loves me. And look, it's even the very final moment, the final night. You're coming to Conan's party with me. Not, we're not going to a party, you're in a bad space, we're going to go somewhere with ourselves. No, you're coming to me, with me, where, into an environment where everybody wants to suck my ugly bald head. That's where I'm taking you. You know? You're fragile, Nick. You're having a breakdown. What I think will help you is a party where everybody's more important than you, where they're all jockeying to see who's the most famous. I'm taking you to a giant circle jerk of the most insecure people in the world. You know? It's Christmas, Conan. Conan O'Brien, it's Christmas. I know your parents recently died. I get it. But do you have maybe one or two friends you can spend it with? Do you need to invite all the famous people so that they can validate each other with how famous they are? Did you do that for your kids? You know? Prove your worth to your kids? It's kind of insecure. It's kind of weird, right? I don't know. I don't want to judge Conan. Like I said, I get it. You know? But it's a mental illness. The Hollywood, the fame seeking, the attention seeking, the influence, it's illness to begin with. So when you get a kid and you throw him in that environment and he's responding to it in a weird way and you just double down and you don't leave? Come on, Rob, you don't even leave? That doesn't even occur to you to get the fuck out of there? Oh, it did occur to you to send your kid out of there. To say, you get out of here, you go to Utah. I can handle it. I don't want to leave. I like the red carpets. I want to keep that up. I don't want to lose that. You know, whatever. Judge me for judging. That's fine. I can handle it. But yeah, every bit of it. The blessing, the bright side of it is hopefully, oh man, I just hope that Conan reflects on this. How could you not? How could you not think, I threw a party, invited a bunch of famous people, a famous person's kid came, and he starts walking around saying, what's your first name, what's your last name, are you famous? Are you famous? Are you famous? Conan, are you famous? Are you famous, Conan? Such a great question. I don't know, man. It's such a great question. Are you famous? Do you have an advantage? Do strangers who don't know you applaud you? Do you get favors from total strangers, unaccountable strangers? Do you have that kind of advantage? How are you wielding that advantage? Are you wielding it against your kids? Do you think you're doing it for your kids? Do you think your kids need to... Is it a way to muscle your children into behaving because, I'm famous? I've got power. Yeah, we already know you're famous. We already know you have power, Dad. You're bigger than us, and you own the fucking house. And we're children. We don't have rights. I don't know. I know I'm grandstanding here. But the more you think about it, and, we would have been less surprised if this had happened to Martin Sheen, if Charlie Sheen would have murdered him, because we saw that coming. But even that's another example of this. It's Martin Sheen didn't take his kids out of Hollywood. He put them in the same business. Sure, there's examples of him running to Charlie's side, but was that also enabling? Martin is also one of these guys, a Rob Reiner, calls everybody else terrible. Every conservative dad's a bad dad. Meanwhile, Charlie. Anyway, I feel like right now, God is beating us over the head with the most obvious examples, of cause and effect. And I just don't see people listening as much as they should. The Charlie Kirk thing, beating us over the head. You want to see what evil looks like? Here's a good man that just wants to talk to people. He wants to debate. He wants to describe reality. Don't slice off your dick. It's wrong to slice off your dick. The people that are trying to get you to slice off your dick or put your wiener in somebody else's hole that you don't know and do all these funny, weird shit with your genitals, those people aren't good. That's not the way to live. That's not a good way to live. And you just debate and talk to everybody and treat them kindly and give the mic to whoever disagreed with him. Shot in the neck, they celebrate. Okay? Celebrate like ghouls. Meanwhile, Rob Reiner murdered. Oh, it's the same as Charlie. No, not the same. Rob Reiner is this guy saying slice off your dick. It's okay to slice off your dick. Anybody that tells you it's bad to slice off your dick is evil. They just don't love you. They're filled with hate. If somebody's trying to stop you from slicing off your dick, they are hateful. That is a huge difference between Charlie trying to save people from slicing off their dick and Rob Reiner saying, slice off your dick. Be ashamed of your race. Anyway, it's just, I don't know, man. God is smacking us over the head. I think he smacked Conan right in the face. I think God came down and punched Conan in the face because Conan has the moral underpinnings. I can hear them when I listen to him speaking. You can hear them too. He shyly resists. He shyly sneaks in that he's Catholic and he's Christmas. It's a Christmas party. Anyway, I said this in the last recording, so I won't go over it again. But I think he's being punched in the face, and I hope he's listening, but I have a feeling he's not, because if you're in that environment, again, you are shielded. Right now, there's nobody in Conan's life going, even saying, you know what, Conan, this is a time for reflection. It is a time to reflect on the Christmas party and why we invited Rob Reiner. Why? Are you friends with Rob Reiner? Really? Is he really your friend? Is Sona your friend? Or is she your assistant? You're surrounded with all these people that laugh at your jokes, and you pay them and you sign their checks every week. Who are your friends, Conan? Where are the friends you grew up with? Your childhood friends who liked you when you were an ugly, fucking, skinny redhead with weird teeth. Where are those friends? Are they at this party? Or did you not invite them because they just probably wouldn't fit in? And I don't know, you'd have to spend too much time with them, and you want to spend your time yucking it up with the fucking Hollywood it crowd. Is anybody around him asking him these questions or saying, what you're thinking right now, this guilt you're feeling, Conan, listen to it, feel it. That's God speaking to you. But no, I think he's surrounded by people saying, oh, Conan, you had nothing to do with it. You didn't know. How could you possibly know? There's no way you could. Don't beat yourself up, Conan. Don't beat yourself up. And they're trying to get him to not listen to that voice that's telling him, this isn't a good place. These people might have the potential to be good people, but this isn't good what we're doing here. Circle jerking around about our power and influence, on how people should behave. Anyway, it kind of sucks. I don't want to be a downer. But I know a lot of you listening are probably have opted to not have that kind of life, and you've chosen not to pursue those things. And you know what? Good for you. If you have a good family and parents that stayed together, you probably know, but I'm going to say it from an outsider's point of view. You are so fortunate. You really are. We're all fortunate just to be alive. I'm not going to pretend like I'm crying about my life. I have gratitude. But boy, if you've got good parents that shielded you from bullshit and didn't try to take any advantage over you, and then were fair with you and loving towards you, and didn't try to beat ideas into your head, didn't try to prove that they were the hot shit, but they just loved you and listened to you and cared about you and protected you from nonsense, and maybe homeschooled you even, or paid attention to who your teachers were, looked at your homework and made sure and gave a shit about you, you know? That's amazing. That's fucking fantastic. And I mean, we should have gratitude no matter what, but a little extra gratitude for you guys. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening.
Unnecessary